Hello everyone, my name is Saka Aringasena, and today I'm going to talk about cross-cultural understanding, focusing on how Indonesian culture differs from Western cultures such as the United States and the United Kingdom. This topic is very important, especially for English department students like us, because learning a language also means learning the culture that lives within it. Let's start with a very basic question. What is culture? According to Larry Samovar, Richard Porter, and Edwin McDaniel in their book Communication Between Culture, 2015, culture is a system of shared values, beliefs, and behavior that members of a society use to interpret, experience, and generate behavior. In other words, culture shapes how we see the world and how we behave and how we communicate. Culture has several key characteristics. It is learned, shared, transmitted from generation to generation, symbolic, and dynamic. This means culture can change, adapt, and influence the way we live and express ourselves. And Samovar also explains that culture is made up of core elements, including values, language, religions, social organization. Values tells us what is considered good or bad. Language allows us to express ideas and emotions. Religion provides ethical guidance. Social organization defines how people relate within families and communities. These elements shape the way people in different societies act and think. For example, why Indonesians are known for their politeness, or why Americans are known for being straightforward. Now, what do we mean by cross-cultural understanding? Cross-cultural understanding is the ability to recognize, respect, and adapt to cultural difference. It means communicating effectively with people who have different beliefs, habits, and values. For us, as English department students, this is essential. Language and culture are inseparable when we speak English. We're not just using different words, we're also expressing different cultural meanings. Understanding culture helps us avoid misunderstandings and prepares us to become globally competent, competent teacher or professionals. In this presentation, I'll focus on one major difference between Eastern and Western cultures: individualism versus collectivism, a concept discussed by Hofstede in his cultural dimension theory. I'll also use Edward T. Hall's theory of high context and low context communication to support my analysis. Next, Hofstede explains that cultures vary in how they view the relationship between individuals and groups. Individualistic cultures, like the United States and the UK, value personal freedom, self-reliance, and individual achievements. Collectivist cultures, like Indonesia, emphasize family, community, and group harmony over personal goals. In the West, people are encouraged to speak their mind and make independent choices. In Indonesia, people often make decisions collectively, consulting family and considering the impact on the others. This shows that Indonesia maintaining relationships and avoiding conflict. It is more important than personal expression. Let's take a real example from the classroom. In Indonesia, students may stay quiet during discussions, not because they have nothing to say, but because they want to show respect and avoid disagreeing directly with the teacher or classmates. Meanwhile, in the United States, students are expected to express their opinions, even to challenge the teacher. Silence in that context might be seen as a lack of confidence or interest. This difference reflects Hafstad's collectivism versus individualism and also connects to Hall's theory about communication context. Next, Edward C. Hall described communication styles using the concept of context. In high context cultures, like Indonesia, communication is often indirect, meaning is found not only in words, but also in tone, gestures, and situation. Politeness and harmony are highly valued in low context culture, such as the US or UK. Communication is explicit and direct. People say exactly what they mean, and being straightforward is considered honest and efficient. So, when an Indonesian says maybe, it could actually mean no, but politely, whereas an American might say no directly. This is why understanding communication context is crucial for cross-cultural competence. So, misunderstandings often happen when people interpret message through their own cultural lens. For example, a Western person might think an Indonesian is being unclear or evasive, but for Indonesians, indirect speech is a way to maintain respect and avoid offending others. This shows that communication is not just about language, it's also about values, expectation, and cultural norms. As Samovar says, intercultural communication competence, competence requires motivation, knowledge, and skills. The motivation to connect, the knowledge of cultural differences, and the skills to adapt our communication appropriately. Through this project, I have learned that culture shapes communication in powerful ways. Theories like Hofstede's and Hall's helps us understand why people act and speak differently, not because one culture is right or wrong, but because each has its own logic and values. I also learned that to become effective communicators, we need to be more open minded, empathetic, and flexible. When we understand our own culture and respect others, we can build bridges across cultural boundaries. And to summarize, culture is a shared system of values and behaviors. Indonesian culture tends to be collectivist and high context. The US and UK are individualist and low context. These differences influence communication style, decision making, and social interaction. Understanding these differences, not just academic, it's practical. It helps us build better relationships, avoid conflicts, and communicate more effectively.